We are here again.
Are you just coming from the church? Because I don't understand.
No, it's not going to be Father. We are. It's going to be people. We are here again. Hello, everyone. This is another edition of Tech Bytes by Technext, and I'm Omole, and with me is
And I'm Larry.
the foundational tech bro.
Of course,
I
thank you
I
very
don't like
much.
saying that anyway. Yes, so we are here again, right? This past week, World Cup, all of that.
Yeah.
The big teams have gone home.
Mm-hmm.
I like to
And
say
they keep going on.
they sent them. They said, "Imagine Morocco qualifying."
We are happy.
Did you expect
Africa.
that? Did you
Go
expect that?
Africa.
Did you expect that? Did you expect that?
It was a 50-50 for me, actually. Morocco, I've
They've
been a
actually
strong
played well,
team,
yeah.
And Spain, they've just had one very huge win. The other ones were not convincing. So I was actually like, it could go both ways.
So even if they, go further, the Moroccans are going to have a dirty December. Expect that.
Yeah.
Talking about dirty December in the tech space, a lot of things are happening. Layoffs, shutdowns. It's
Yeah.
been a difficult time for the tech space, not just in Africa actually.
It's global.
Yeah, it's a global
People
thing.
are losing their jobs.
Mm.
People are getting salary slashes, and it's December. So,
Anyway, our hearts are with those
Yeah.
who have lost their jobs and from shutdowns and from layoffs. So yeah, as we usually do, we are going to give you the updates, exciting news updates from
Mhm.
Africa and across the entire globe. And also we'll be talking about, we have a discuss today, about the new CBN cash withdrawal limit
yeah, that's been like a
and how
very.
it will affect everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's the
That has
topic
been like a
topic of the
major discussion this week.
for the next 3 months, even after it's okay, it has been suspended, but before then, a lot of people are going to talk about it,
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't know about it. So yeah, that's why we are here, to tell you
of course.
about
We're here again.
what, yeah, what it is about, and we have somebody who is going to join us later. So you have to stay, to get the juice out of it. So yes, if you have not subscribed to our podcast channel rather, please do.
What are you
Like,
waiting for?
Share, subscribe, comment, tell your family and friends about it. This is Tech Bytes by Technext.
Mhm.
Yeah, so anybody sponsoring this?
Yeah, we have our friends at Polygon and Whitebeat, and they are the sponsors of this podcast. Shout out to you guys.
Yeah, so let's go around the world of tech in 10 minutes.
Alright.
Dami, do the
Yeah.
honors.
So layoffs continued this week again.
Mm.
Move was the latest to move employees out.
It
Of.
says move.
Eminem should feature me. So Move quietly dismissed its employees. Right, a report came out that an undisclosed number of employees had been laid off. And
Use the word quietly.
yeah, they didn't make an announcement until the report came out. Then they made a statement,
Okay.
and their statement was that the employees were not laid off because of the current wave of layoffs, market conditions and everything. That they were laid off because of gross misconduct and some other things.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a new
It's like they
reason
piled
for
it up for
layoff.
them and like, okay, it's time.
Yeah, that's a new reason
time for you to
layoff.
go.
And the layoff was said to have happened in November, all right, and the employees would be getting like 3 months severance pay. So people are like,
Even after gross misconduct.
yeah, so
Interesting.
Move is just like, you're just doing that as a form of goodwill.
Mm,
Yeah. In case
That's
you don't
fishy.
know,
Sounds
Move
fishy.
is a mobility fintech startup. They have partnership with Uber and in several other markets.
Yeah.
They have partnership with Suzuki, Tesla, Toyota, automobile brands. I don't know if you've seen those small Suzuki cars that you see all around. Uber Go
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's a Move thing, and it was founded by Ladi Delano and Jide Odunsi in 2019. They offer revenue-based vehicle financing to startups.
I was at Mirilamo yesterday and I saw a lot of people at the Move. There's a Move shop. There.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you
So when the
looking
news
for
of
here?
layoff
That was
came
the first
about,
time.
people were like, "Okay, what happened?" And it has raised over 140 million in debt financing and equity in 2022 alone. So that's a lot. That's a lot. Hopefully, it is what it is. Yeah, hopefully it is what it is. All right, moving on. Kenya's CBK has introduced charges for transactions. These charges were stopped in 2020, March 16,
Yeah.
because of the COVID-19. right? I mean, so that to
But they are
ease
back now.
off, yeah, to ease off the stress of the economic thing on these citizens. But now it's back. Or they will be 61% less than what it was or what it should be. But they are back now.
Hallelujah. At
So
least
when
they reduce the percentage.
yeah, right. So when you're transacting between your wallet to bank or wallet or bank to wallet, transactions,
Yeah.
you get charged now as from January 1st,
I hope
2023.
it doesn't. It's not too much for
Yeah, I
the
mean they're
users,
cutting it by 61%. I mean,
which is a
and
good thing.
since the charges were removed, all right, more than 6.2 Kenyans have started using mobile money.
There's a country that will not even remove 1%. In fact, they will increase it by 200%.
I don't know what you're talking about. And volume of transactions has also increased from 162 to 440 million.
Kenya is leaving other
transactions.
African countries behind. Though.
Yeah, they are a stronghold in terms of mobile money. I mean, M-Pesa is huge when it comes to mobile money there. That's a good one. I mean, Kenya, so brace up. 2023, you're going to have to start paying. Yeah.
I'm sure they know.
Okay, next one is B-Mobile Africa. It's a South African crypto payment gateway. It has introduced a crypto payment gateway in South Africa for businesses. So what it's saying is businesses can receive crypto and with the payment gateway convert it to whatever currency they want to, euros, dollars, rands, whatever you want to. So the whole point is it reduces transaction costs. And if you're reducing,
Important.
if you're receiving money in dollars or euros or rands,
They're not going to remove
Yo,
15%.
maybe you're getting some percentages off, right, as charges. But I mean, if you're doing crypto, percentages are very low, and transaction or converting it to your basic day-to-day fiat currency would be cheaper than what you have in that other space. So it's a good one. It's
Yeah,
a
it
good
is,
one.
it
And
is
to think they
actually.
just launched in South Africa in September, and 2-3 months down the line, they're already launching this innovative solution.
Do you know how many users they have now?
No. I mean, we don't know yet. We don't know yet. So, I mean, this is coming at a time where local banks have targeted accounts with cryptocurrencies and, some other banks and some other countries and things like that. And we're not having this. This is good. We just hope to see how far it goes.
The innovation does not stop.
Yeah, it doesn't stop, of course. I mean, every day.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, good news. I don't know if it's a good news, but MTN will not be the only 5G telco we would have soon, because Airtel has also gotten the license
I know
to roll out.
NCC told Airtel one time that no.
No, what happened? They wanted to pay the former fee, but
Yeah.
NCC wanted a new fee for a new bidding.
You have to go through the auction method.
Yeah, and I mean they are the only ones that want the sole bidding for the spectrum to launch 5G in Nigeria, and so they'll be joining
They're painting the town
MTN.
red. Okay, yellow and red.
So they'll be joining MTN and
Yeah.
Mafab Communications in having the license to roll out 5G. Although we know it's just MTN was rolled out so far, so hopefully Airtel rolls out ASAP, and people
Yeah.
have multiple options to use.
Exactly,
and everything.
exactly.
It's good for the market.
We don't want monopoly.
It's good for the market.
It's actually
very
good for
good.
market.
Yeah, I mean,
To reduce the charges, the fees,
Mhm.
I remember somebody buying the MTN 5G pack, and he said it's 150. I'm like, how many people can afford 150? So it means that a lot of people will not be able to use 5G because they can't afford it.
Yeah, and also NCCR has said that there'll be no further bidding. All right, so the commission will move to the assignment stage now to ensure that the rollout and
goes
the licensing parameters are followed and every other thing is done. So no bidding anymore. So if you missed out, sorry guys, really sorry.
Sorry, but not sorry.
All right, so the last news for today, Patek. Patek is a global VC firm. I mean, they've completed a 120 million euros fourth seed funding round. Yeah, I mean, startups should be interested. They should be happy because 120 million, that's a lot of cash to go around.
Imagine you just put it in my account.
Okay, can your account take it?
We can open an account. They can.
So the VC plans to invest between 300 100,000 euros to 3 million euros in about 50 startups across the globe. All right, and we know Africa has also been a huge recipient of fundings
Yeah,
from
true,
global
true, true.
VCs in the last few years. So, yeah, African startups. It's time to get innovating. It's time to start pitching.
You don't have any idea that we can turn into a startup?
We'll discuss after the podcast. Let's not expose the idea. All right, that brings us to the end of the news around the world. If you enjoyed this, you should subscribe, like,
share, comment,
comment.
do everything. Do everything.
And don't forget, this podcast was sponsored by our friends at Polygon and Whitebait. So,
yeah, we are back, right? The conversation of the day. Okay, so we are just trying to look at the new CBN withdrawal policy and assessing. So the topic is assessing the effect of the CBN revised cash withdrawal limit. On Tuesday, that's December 5, the Central Bank of Nigeria imposed fresh cash withdrawal limits on individuals and organizations. So it means that individuals, the limit for individuals, weekly limit for individuals is 100,000 naira. And organizations is 500,000 naira. It will become effective January 9, 2023. The memo was signed by CBN's Director of Banking Supervision, Haruna Mustafa, and directed banks to load only 200 naira and lower denominations.
It's been a while we had that.
In their ATMs. So this means that Nigerians will only be able to withdraw 20,000 per day from ATM machines from January 9. So the memo reads, the maximum cash withdrawal over the counter by individuals and corporate organizations per week shall henceforth be 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively. Withdrawals above this limit shall attract processing fee of 5% and 10% respectively. So it means that on your 100, if you withdraw more than 100,000, as an individual, you're going to attract the 5% charge. As an organization, if you withdraw more than 500,000 naira, you're going to attract a 10% charge. Whoa. Now, third-party checks above 50,000 naira shall not be eligible for payment over the counter, while extant limits of 10 million rather on clearing checks shall subsist. The maximum cash withdrawal per week via ATM shall be 100,000, subject to a maximum of 20,000 per day. Okay, we've already mentioned that. 200 and below, 200 naira and below.
So no Dorime again.
So we're going to have 10 naira. Anyway, so there's an exemption that allows for 5 million, allows individuals to withdraw as much as 5 million and 10 million. But there are a lot of things you have to submit, documents and signatories. Anyway, so the CBN has warned that banks, that circumvent this policy shall be severely sanctioned. We don't want severely sanctioned. It's 100 million sanction. Anyway, so a lot of Nigerians have been talking about it, on social media and on the streets. I remember asking someone, the person first shouted that, what? What they mean by 100,000 per week? So she was she kept asking, is it 100 per day or 100 per week? Anyway, so yeah, the big question is this really for better or for the worse? To help us, understand this, we have a notable player in the space, Mr. Jeffrey Williams-Edem. Jeffrey is an expert in sales growth and optimization and is a business and market development strategist. He stays building strategic businesses and partnership across the African payment industry. He is focused on achieving exceptional results in a highly competitive business environment that demands continuous improvement and volume or profit-focused results. His experience cut across business and sales experience in fintech, retail, payment technology, consulting, hospitality, servicing, and OEMs. We are excited to have you, Mr. Jeffrey. Welcome to Tech Bytes.
Thank you, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's your day going? How are you?
I'm fine. It's another hot day in Lagos, so typically everybody's trying to find shelter and trying to look for all the cash they can hold.
We are hustling. Hustle.
Don't owe too much, though. There's a new denomination out there.
Anyway, so yeah, Naira. I remember in Naira last year when it came out, a lot of people, talked about it, but nobody. Now there's no talkability about e-Naira, but now there's a new policy, to push the e-Naira and cashless policy. Now, a drastic reduction in withdrawal limits. We know you understand this very well, but what do you think? So tell us, what do you think the CBN wants to achieve with this?
Well, I mean, all the different reports that we've seen and all the analysis, even statements released by some of the people that work within the sector as well, has reduced this objective. CBN is trying to reduce the flow of cash within the system as the election is coming closer. If you do know, last year alone, about 26.17 billion naira was going through the economy without hitting any bank account or going into the banking system at any point in time. That's a lot last year. And so what the CBN is trying to do is to reduce high denomination circulation that does not find its into the shell system. And also to reduce the burden on the newly printed notes. Everyone was to exchange what they've stashed in their house to the new note that has been created. You would find that it will be difficult for them to meet that demand. I mean, you know all the things that was going through the social media recently of trailers of Naira notes, 1,000 Naira in their way to banks and all of that. Now, imagine that kind of money being changed to the new currency. I don't think that the CBN can house that kind of print, that cost as well, the operational structure that would require, even the storage demand that would require as well. So what they've done is to strategically change the notes and implement a policy to ensure that you are not heavily seeking the new note or depending on it, and then leveraging the economy that has built up various options for transactions to happen. But there's a reason why most people don't do that. And I guess as we go along in the conversation, we can talk a bit around that.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. All right. Jeffrey, you mentioned that the CBN move, is to, there are several reasons to it. Printing, the cost of printing, the cost of housing.
Nobody's talking about that, but that's it.
Yeah, and also having lots of this cash in the system without reaching the bank. So the whole point is for Nigerians to handle less cash, and maybe move towards the digital side and all. But you found out that this isn't
I didn't also mention. I also didn't mention the side that also has to do with, of course, laundering that is happening and the things that having access to cash outside the system encourages. Vices are not being able to track properly, transactions are not being able to track. And so there is also the security, the sanity, the safety that they're also trying to encourage. And it's also for our good in the long run, because people are able to do heavy transactions outside the monitoring system. There are certain economic and life risk that also comes from that, without having to mention some words of heavy payment that goes when certain things go wrong.
Yeah. But you find out that this isn't the CBN's first attempt at this. In 2019, it announced new changes and new charges on cash deposits and withdrawals for individual corporate bank accounts. And one thing that we've had over a period of years in government policies is they say they want to do it. They do it, a few months down the line, it's back to status quo. Do you think this would be the case this time around, or do you think the goal will be achieved?
Well, the one thing that affects Nigeria a lot is accountability. In the corporate sector, in the government sector, in the financial sector, in any institution, the one disease that we've not been able to solve properly is accountability. You make a policy within the organization, people adhere to it for 6 months. On the 7th month, people forget that policy exists. The people who are supposed to enforce it are either not interested, because they are also not accountable. Everything just goes back to status quo. So you're very correct. But let me put a positive spin to this. A lot of the time when policies come into play, people feel that they focus more on the policy, but not the ripple effect that the policy has. Now, was it sometime in 2017 or 18 when this came? Now, in all of that, it encouraged a new breed of technology to manage that. We saw better adoption in digital channels. We saw more cards being issued. We saw more accounts being, we saw more ATMs being installed. I mean, there were lots of electronic investment in terms of payment. Now, I see that happening. It doesn't mean that the policy didn't work. It just meant that you implement a policy, you take the time to look at it. I mean, that's what the whole change management is about. You implement something, you give it some time, you see what areas, what loopholes, what are the new trends, what are the new technology, what are the new consumer behavior, what are the new banking realities, and then you further, modify that policy to go along. Even this one that we're all having conversations around, the next 1 or 2 years, you might see a new trend evolving. And of course, as CBN should do, they will react to it. They will. And when they do, it is also to sensitize and sanitize that whole value chain to ensure that the policy delivers on what is meant to deliver. Now, are they downside or upside to all of this? It depends on perspective. To the fintech people, it's like, yay, we have opportunity to do more. For the local woman in the market, it's like, how am I going to manage paying suppliers? To the guys that are sending or doing heavy transactions. So there are different perspectives to look at. One cannot use one blanket approach to say, did it work or did it not work? You will look at it from the context of who it's affecting. How is it affecting the banking sector? How is it affecting the fintech sector? How is it affecting the microeconomics of Nigeria? How is it affecting the local woman on the street? How is it affecting you and I? And here is one fundamental thing that most people don't understand, is that the minimum wage of Nigeria is less than 100,000. So everybody is complaining about, I can't take more than 100,000. Oga, how many people can withdraw 100,000 per week? How many? So sometimes we go into the narrative of being dramatic as we are as a country. But if you come to the basic, our police force, our military force, the average person that works in my office, the government workers, not up to 100,000 average. So really, who is this policy going to impact? Probably not the common man on the street. There are the million people moving the millions when you and I are not there. That is where the thing would impact the most.
So you said the 2019 policy actually affected electronic banking in Nigeria. But now, how will you describe the state of electronic banking in terms of adoption?
Well, I think we've really come a long way, to be honest. I think we've really, really come a long way. I'll just give you some statistics. We've had a leapfrog of number of POS terminals deployed. We've had a leapfrog of the number of businesses that are on the internet, like you can buy from them. We've had a leapfrog of wallet payments. We've got agency banking. We have over 600,000 agents, and that's economic value that creates in their locality. We have 57% of men in Nigeria now banked. We've had, about 45% will be women. But you begin to see, if you look back 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where we are today is beautiful, because we are seeing 600%, 300%. Today, you have over 300 plus fintechs in the market providing solutions. What enabling all of this growth? It is policies that create opportunities. I remember in one of my previous job, when CBN said we're not going to 100 naira when you withdraw from the ATM, everybody went bonkers, like just comments. But in all of that, opportunities created itself for alternative channels, for other ways of transacting, for other ways of getting cash. Banks merged, new ecosystem were created, more solutions became available. So what I'm begging the industry to do is stop being dramatic, step back, look at the policy, understand the policy, understand the opportunity that it creates, understand what is truly securing, understand what is truly enabling. Now, of course, some policies cannot affect everyone. I mean, even Jesus is. But in the end, you'll find that if we focus so much on the little negative, ignore the bigger opportunity that it creates as well, both for the payment infrastructure within the economy, the players who are also in the payment sector, the people who have benefited. So let me ask you guys a question, right? If tomorrow you start to find that your dry cleaner, Jimo that is selling Bolly for you, the shoemaker, the taxi driver that are outside the hailing app are beginning to ask you, Oga, can you pay me in USSD? Or I mean, can you tap and go or something like that? Will that make your life easier? That's a question for you guys. Will it make your life easier?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I didn't even like holding cash. That's me, though.
Exactly. Exactly. So in the end, there is benefit and nothing is holding these people back. Now, just to deviate a bit from our conversation, if we look at why people don't take in adopt digital payments, you'll find out it's three main reasons in my experience. I mean, I've been in this industry for 12 years, so it's three main reasons. The first is trust. The second is access to money. And the third is the fact that the ecosystem that surrounds them does not enable the continuity of that type of currency. So let me explain the first one to you guys. So you find that if, for instance, I get money, you pay me with your card or in any other way, and I can instantly have access to that money, right? Whether it's card transaction or any other, and I can pay the next person I need to also buy value from. Would I be worried if you're paying me in cash or not? No. The problem is that you pay a woman that is making 10,000 naira a day, right, in digital currency, and then she has to wait one day to be able to go to the market and buy fish and vegetables to make soup. Of course, she will not want that. But if she gets to the market and she has her money somewhere in some form, and she can also immediately pay that woman, and that woman can immediately pay somebody else, and that's what she's paying. And that whole ecosystem is enabled for microtransactions, then it makes it easy. But today, you send 100,000 naira, you might not see it till tomorrow. Even that tomorrow, say if you call the bank and say, I made money, and then they say, oh God, wait 2 weeks. There is a transaction that I made, 100,000 naira. It's been 2 months now. Nobody can find the money. I don't even want to call the bank's name. I've written letter, they sent me statement. But again, how many, that's somebody's salary, like two people's salary probably as well, in the context of Nigeria. So this is one thing that we're not solving and is making adoption of this kind of digital channel, which the CBN is heavily dependent on to make this policy work, a problem, right? The second one as well, like I mentioned, is the cost of adoption, right? Everybody wants to go after people that can pay. I mean, they charge you 0.5%, they charge you the cost of POS terminal. I mean, they charge you 1.5% for web. Yes, to a big business, that wouldn't be a lot. But if I am making 500 naira per transaction, and you're taking 1.5% of that, or 0.5% of that, or asking me to buy a terminal of 80,000 naira, or 20,000 or 25,000 naira, that is still expensive. But in the context of Nigeria, right, and you trying to enable payment. So I'm saying to CBN, yes, you're putting out policies. Yes, you are enabling the ecosystem for digital payments to be, but there are infrastructure problem, there are device problem that needs to be addressed. Can you come down to the below the pyramid and say, what can we do at this below the pyramid for adoption? How do we build trust? How do we make transactions cheaper? How do we make instant settlement possible? How do we fund their adoption? So if you're going to onboard 5 million market women, what would it cost us to do that? Can CBN fund that? Can we educate them at that level? Can we provide some incentive to reduce cost at that level? These are the kind of policies I think would really improve the adoption and make this new CBN policy more acceptable to people because there are other fundamental problems that are still not addressed.
Let's just close the book.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
right.
said
I
everything.
mean, I think you answered my next question, which was going to be about access to
Yeah.
this
E-banking,
e-banking
yeah.
thing, right? I mean, for people in the villages and things like that, they
Even in
don't.
the market here,
Yeah,
you don't
the
have to go to village.
stress of accessing this e-banking and all is very heavy
They don't
there.
even understand it.
Yeah, and I think you already answered that. So, Rui, do you want to?
Anyway, so yeah, we actually asked, we asked a couple of people how this will affect them, and some of them were talking about ransom. When they are being kidnapped, how will they pay ransom? They asked us to bring 20 million, and the limit is 100,000. And the CBN has put a 5% charge, and 5% charge on a 10 million. That's quite a lot. Do you think there should be a form of, should there be exceptions for instances like this?
Well, that's a sensitive topic to discuss, and there are many ways to look at it. I don't think any country in the world would give an exception for that, so that's off the table. However, it doesn't also limit the availability of cash within the system. So to be clear, just because you are limiting me to taking 20,000 naira or getting 100,000 naira a week does not mean that there will not be cash within the system. So let me paint a picture to you. When we go to the market, the average woman at the market maybe attends to maybe 100 people in a day. If 100 people in a day are spending 20,000 naira for what they want to shop, right? So there will still be cash because individually we're going to bring 20,000 naira to that lady. So there will still be cash within the system. Now, what you may begin to see is that people would want to circumvent the system by not taking that money to the bank, because when they go and deposit that large sum of money, what happens is that they need to then pay for it. So the policy that we have before this one still enables them to still take some of this money and go and deposit and all of that. But as you reduce that value, what happens is that people are going to hold on to cash more. That is the side effect of this. Now, the other side effect possibly could be that in the long run, the cash holding will be too much because security issues and all of that. They will now, the woman in the market will now start enforcing you to pay digitally because there's too much cash and she doesn't know what to do with it. Now, this may also create another ecosystem of people who are going around this market and mopping up these cashes for the agents as well. So there's a lot of dynamics that would play out. Now, that you want to make money available when somebody is kidnapped, off the table. Even if that is going to happen, it will not be a public conversation, right? And even if you needed that, I don't think you want to go to the bank to solve that now because the policy doesn't enable that. But it doesn't also mean that cash would not be available in the market. It just means that at that micro level, at the local market where majority of cash transactions are going on, cash transaction will continue to. The problem is that as people become more prosperous, their average cash hold begins to increase. They will break away from that circle and try to be banked. So we might receive some success in people trying to be banked as their business increases. But for those who still maintain an average of maybe 100,000 a day, 500,000 a month kind of business, they probably still hold their cash, and you see that circulating around that level.
Okay, great. You touched on one other question I was going to ask. So you mentioned that people at micro level, people would still be able to perform the transaction even with the current limits and all. But you find out that at that micro level, in most places, the banking services, the traditional the structure, are not readily available. People have to heavily depend on POS agents, depend on that. And currently, I mean, I was having a discussion this morning in Lagos for 5,000 withdrawal. You're probably paying like 100 naira.
Yeah.
I just found out today that in some places you are paying as much as 400 naira for 5,000 naira.
What is remaining?
So if you currently have that now, despite the fact that there is no limits, now POS agents have to withdraw heavy cash from the bank, incur the cost of 5% or 10% as the case may be. Now these costs comes back to the
Yeah. Trickle
average
effect.
user. So
It will
that
trickle
means
down.
that the average user that was paying 400 naira before is probably having to pay like 1,000
Or
naira now,
2,000.
or 2,000 for a transaction that is just still 5,000 naira. What do you think? Would this not stifle the
Growth.
inclusion and growth that
Gotcha.
we actually want to?
That's a very good made. I read an article online, a very amazing one by a blog called Payment. Now, analyze the own opportunity, the market impact, how it impacts agency, merchants, banking, and I mean, if you have access to that, I mean, go online and read about that online. Um, but the angle I'm going to put this to you guys is Nigerians are very reactive and not proactive. We wait for something to happen and then we take action. When you and I start paying 1,000 naira to withdraw 5,000 naira, what would you think would be the reaction of the people, in your opinion? They will start finding out how to get banked, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
So did the policy work? Yes. In the long run, you find that the average ripple effect and the collective achievement of this is that people would start wanting to be banked because outside the banking transactions, the cash transactions will become more expensive. That's what you will see. And as it becomes more expensive because access to cash becomes stifled and people are paying premium for physical cash to be available, you want to adopt digital payments. It's an obvious fact. And this is where an opportunity sits. The telcos who have been giving licenses. So you have Mono for MTN, you've got Smart Cash for Airtel, you've got Money Master for Globalcom, and you've got 9PSB for 9 Mobile. All of these people have been licensed. Now, can they give you banking service? Yes. Can they make your SIM card enable for payments? Yes. Now you can send, you can receive. So do I really, in the long term, see a problem with transactions? No. These guys are planning. This policy also favors them as well because the policy says they need to at least 25% of their business or presence needs to be in those remote, unreached area. Now imagine if we have 45 million people unbanked in this remote, sorry, 45 million people unbanked in this remote area, and 25% of that became banked through the payment service banks. That would be an amazing number to achieve in Nigeria because then it enables payments to happen. Now, these guys can do everything you want to do. You want to transfer, you want to hold money, you want to receive cash, and you can do all of that with your simple non-smart device today. And so as they build out more services, the banks can focus more on the middle class, up class, elite banking apps, smart devices, and these guys can focus more on the artisans, local market, below the pyramid people, remote areas, and try and push out as much information and training that you can actually do transactions. So you can go to a lady, right, receive value, pay her 1,000 naira. She takes the 1,000 naira, goes to a roadside person with the same money she has received on her phone, pay that woman, which is pretty much how M-Pesa evolved in the East
Yeah.
as well. And we can begin to see some adoptions around that. Mobile wallet is becoming a major part of our existence today. So infusing that into a mobile wallet that does not require a smartphone to operate becomes even more interesting to see. So I think the next 1 to 2 years, you will begin to see intelligent devices being developed that can enable this type of transactions, peer to peer, and you will start to see transactions at that level. You will start to see people looking for ways to enable more services on your SIM card. There is a technology company today that provides over 65% of the phones in Africa. The Transsion Group, I think
Yeah,
that's what they are
Transsion.
called.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. And imagine if they enabled all these phones to be able to do transaction in a secure way, working with these four people I've mentioned. I mean, the future is amazing. It just people are ready to work together, then a lot is possible.
Okay. So this rule would not necessarily kill POS agents, as people have been saying. It will just help them to become better and upgrade. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, what do you think is the best way? I know you've answered, you've touched on that, but what do you think is the best way, to drive financial inclusion and adoption of electronic banking in Nigeria?
Hmm. So, why do people take cash? I always tell people, go to the real problem. People take cash because the people they are trying to pay want cash. People take cash because they are afraid that when they get to the place that they need to make payment, electronic payment will not work. People take cash because it makes value exchange instant. So if I can make digital payment value instant, then I would encourage and eliminate those who have those problems, right? If I can make our payment infrastructure 99.999999% available, then I also solve that part of that problem as well, right? If I'm able to create trust within the system so that people can trade on this digital platform, then adoption would also happen as well. Now, we talked about agency banking people. Now, one of the things I picked up from this payment log input was that she said that a future would come where when you go to an agent and you're trying to withdraw, the agent will ask you, who do you want to pay? And you say, oh, I'm trying to pay this Okada guy, or I'm trying to pay for this food vendor, or I'm trying to go to this chemist to buy something. And you're like, oh, don't worry, I can pay that chemist for you and provide you evidence that I've paid. So you don't really need to take cash. This is the evidence, go there, she's waiting for you. Again, because value is instant, because value can be tracked, and because value can be validated instantly, which is the trust part I spoke about. In the end, you'll find that the requirement for cash will begin to decline, and people would begin to adopt and use these payment tools that have become available through the fintech.
No, good. I know you've touched on it randomly throughout the course of conversation, but in like 1, 2, 3 points, could you give us like the next possible policy direction that you think the CBN should take following this withdrawal limit and all this rule?
Well, I definitely see this policy being looked at again in the next 1 year. So let us not relax around it. I think Nigerians are very tenacious. We would always find a way around policies. Now our way.
Exactly.
So the government is going to sit back. So it's going to sit back, look at it, and then of course, modify it as things go along. And I also think that you begin to see new policies around e-Naira. I think the future of e-Naira is coming very soon. And I see a lot of adoption already going on, but the future is coming. So maybe a few more policies around that to make it more acceptable, like public school payment, like government payments to people, this Empower thing where you're pushing money out to the people and say, you know what, all payments is now going to be on e-Naira. So if you don't have e-Naira, government cannot pay you. Maybe taxation can now become e-Naira as well. So there'll be a lot of policies I'm seeing around that. And the last one, I see a few things around web payments. I mean, it's been quiet for about 5 years or so. And because there are a lot of more payment options, more transaction routing, and people circumventing some of these things that we're publicly seeing, the government may sit back and say, well, we've done a very good job around wallets. We've done a very good job around agency banking. We've done a very good job around POS. But for web, let's take a look at that again. Let's clean that up a bit. Maybe it's too expensive. Maybe we need to look at the price and put some standardization around that to circumvent some of the things that are happening on e-commerce websites today and betting websites and all of that today. It's possible that this will be the 3 direction in terms of policy change in the near future.
Oh, good, great. I don't know if we had
No, I don't. This has been quite insightful. You see how we stood like a student listening to you.
Is. Yeah, it is. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You want to do a recap?
Not a problem,
Me?
guys.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, number 1, Nigerians will adapt to this. It's not the end of the world.
I like the positivity that he brought to
Yeah,
it.
it's not the end of the world. It just means if you want to do dorime at parties, you want to spray money, you're just going to have to pay more. So yeah, thank you, Jeffrey, for having this conversation with us. We are happy to have you here, and we hope you had an amazing time, as well as our viewers. We hope you had an insightful conversation and feedback from this policy that CBN has rolled out. So yeah, to you, we come to your ears again next week. Jeffrey, do you want to maybe share your social media handles so people can follow you and hear more sound bites?
Well, on Twitter, it's Jeffrey WE10. So the Jeffrey is JEFFREY with WE and then the 110, which is 10. So Jeffrey WE10 on Twitter, the postings there. And the majority of my conversations are on LinkedIn. My full name is on screen, Jeffrey Williams-Edem. You can, engage there and connect with me there, and then I can provide any assistance that I can provide. And thank you again, guys, for having me. It was an amazing session as well.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Mine is ActDown07 on all platforms except LinkedIn, of course. My name is Oluwadamilare.
Just look for Omole Omori anywhere.
All right. Thank you, guys. Still come to your screens and your ears again next week. Take care.